And we're back. Thank you, sponsor. So some of y'all might be thinking, if we're trying to call the police only when in times of actual emergencies, what does that look like? Well, according to Aaron Rose, that activist we talked about earlier, he says that, first of all, you should be getting to know your neighbors. He writes, many situations that you might feel compelled to call the police can be resolved by knowing your neighbors. Knock on people's door, leave a note with your number. Have a conversation. Agree to talk to each other before calling 911. This is particularly helpful for things like loud music, smoke, or mental health issues. I think that's really important, particularly as, our space has become more gentrified. When you move into a place, I think it's important to make a good faith effort to get to know folks. And, if you don't get to know your neighbors, like, how do you know what's going on in your community? And so I think just starting there, starting with having a conversation with the people who you live around, so like, so-and-so lives here, so-and-so lives here, so-and-so lives here. Like, if so-and-so's playing loud music, I won't just call 911. I'll go over and tell them to ask them to stop. If so-and-so is blowing smoke and it's, smelling at my apartment, I'll come down and have a conversation with them. I won't just summon 911 to do this for me. I can handle this as an adult.
Yeah. And also, I would add, have that conversation as an adult. Do not go yelling in someone's face. It always bothers me when people wait. And I understand that impulse. Absolutely. Like, you're angry. You want to act on it now. But it's better for everyone if you can take that breath, take that beat, and just be an adult about it. Have a conversation. Don't go yelling in someone's face, if at all, if you can help it at all. Some situations warrant it. But generally, for things, smaller things, I would say try to keep your cool. And also, if you're someone like me that's I'm one of those weird people that's both very outgoing and very shy. So when I moved into my new neighborhood, I got to know everyone in my building by name, but that was it. But I'm not going to call anybody. I'm not going to call the police on anybody. I didn't make the effort. And if there's ever an issue, I'll go make the effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you are a person who perhaps is a little worrier, or you're more prone to calling the police, or like, just, I don't want to say nosy, but almost nosy. Just if you're on
a busybody.
Yeah. If you're on the other side of the spectrum than me, then yes, take that effort and get to know people. And hopefully it'll be an enjoyable experience. I mean, hopefully you'll make friends and get to know folks.
Yeah, definitely. I'm such an advocate of that. I am not a busybody. I'm a busybody in some ways, right? I love my community. If you spend any time talking to me, you will know that there's nothing I love more than where I live in DC. And I love the youth of my community. I love the elderly folks. I love living in a diverse, exciting, multifaceted place. I love it. I go to all the community events. I really rep hard for where I live. And I want my community to be safe and healthy, just like anybody else. But that does not mean calling the police all the time. What that means is getting to know my neighbors, talking to people, saying hello to people when I see them in the street. I've often thought that when people move into communities like the one that I live in, the inclination can be to not meet anybody because you don't know them and they lived here forever and they're that weird old black woman upstairs or whatever. And I get that inclination, but it is absolutely incorrect. I remember once living someplace where we had a package thief who would steal packages. And there was a very, very old woman who was a shut-in who she would collect your packages if you were basically nice to her. And somebody who lived in my building, they were like, well, this neighborhood, we can't even get our packages delivered. She should get all the packages for the whole building. And I was like, oh, well, I shovel her walk when it snows because she can't do it. And I bring her, her groceries sometimes when she needs to. I smile at her and say, hello, do you do those things? And he was like, no. And I thought, oh, so you want to be able to have the perks of living in a community where everyone knows each other. You don't want to do any of the work of saying hello to her, shoveling her walk, checking in on her, getting the occasional quart of milk if she needs it. You want her, it's her responsibility to make your stay in this neighborhood nicer. Yeah. You need to do nothing in return for her. And he was like, well, when you put it that way, I like to think that he's shovels her walk every winter since then.
I hope so too, Bridget.
But yeah, I mean, this is just my thing. It's like, the reason why I love where I live is because of the people that live there. And my neighborhood is full of a colorful cast of characters, and I love every one of them. And I think that we need to remember what it means to be a community and remember what it means to be a good neighbor and remember that it's okay to have interpersonal conflict and it's okay to use our words to solve that conflict. Nobody else needs to, if it's not a violent or emergency situation, you don't need to have somebody else do it for you. You can do it yourself. And I think that really it starts there. You know, give it a try.
Give it a try.
Give it a try. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying never call the police. I'm not saying if you feel threatened by someone, it is your duty to go up to them and put your, you know, if you feel like you're putting your life on the line to do that. I am not saying that. That is not the takeaway.
Yeah.
All I am saying is that a safer future is possible for everybody. And I truly, truly believe that we can have a future where we are so much less dependent on armed police. And that is a little bit of a radical notion, but I think that we could get there. And other communities are already exploring different ways of, you know, restorative justice and keeping communities safer through community-based programming. You know, where like if something happens, there is someone else to call that is not the police. There is a community-based solution that can tackle it. And I think we should be figuring out how we scale back from involving, frankly, people with guns who seem to use them with impunity. I think we should be figuring out ways of depending less on them to sort out situations that really we have the skills. I believe in us. We have the skills to tackle ourselves. And that's my plea.
It sounds like a beautiful world, and I believe we can do it too. We can build this better, healthier community together. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sminty listeners, sorry this episode was just me on my high horse. Really, I'm interested in knowing your solutions. Do you have an idea of what we can do to rely less on police? What do you think? What do you think about this idea of not calling 911? Do you think these people who are calling 911 for every little thing are as absurd as I do? Please let us know. I really want to know.
Yes. You can find us on Twitter at MomStuffPodcast or on Instagram at StuffMomNeverToldYou. Or you can always email us at momstuff@howstuffworks.com.
Wouldn't it be great if all natural, non-GMO products cost just